Aloha and welcome to Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson. Thank you so much for joining. Coming to you again from Hawaiian beaches on the big island of Hawaii. Thank you. I appreciate you. What is my favorite fruit? White pineapple. Okay, that's what's coming up right now. That could change from time to time, but white pineapple. Yum. Okay. So, here's the question. My mom called me crying recently, saying how depressed she is and how she wants to die and how her entire body is hurting. She constantly talks about getting divorced yet doesn't take action. I reminded her over and over to keep following her happiness and her heart and what resonates. Yet she kept complaining about our family and saying how she's too stressed out and she hasn't been happy. I was speaking from my heart, but I could feel she wasn't taking it in. And I found myself getting defensive that she didn't want to hear it. Wonderful. I found myself trying harder and harder to understand, and all I felt was resistance. Yes, that's how it goes. She began crying more and denied her feelings and said stuff like, "It's okay, I'm fine, that's just the way life is. How can I be here for her? I want to remind her that she has a choice to follow what makes her happy, but she has a strong belief going against that." Okay, this is super fun because it's such a self-reflection. It's so awesome. Oh my God, white pineapple. Different from different from yellow pineapple. Very different. And Jerry said, "Accept her as she is." Well, yeah, there's one, and that's wonderful. You hear accept her as she is, but what does that actually mean? Like, what is it like to go from non-acceptance, resistance, feeling like you're not heard, basically, is to see what's going on. You look at what's going on, okay? Because it's all self-talk. It's all for you. It's not really about her in your perception. It's about her and her perception. See? If you make it about her in your perception, you're confusing the whole issue. Because everything she's saying, that's self-talk. And everything you're saying, see, I want to remind her that she has a choice. There you are. That's you talking to yourself. It's great. You want to remind you that you have a choice. Yes, you always have a choice. See? You mentioned that you were speaking from your heart and then you became defensive. So if you were speaking from your heart, you made a choice and it was a conscious one to close that down and get defensive. See? And it's based on your perception. It's based on your perception of how she's taking it, which is not relevant at all. It's not really relevant. That's the senses playing out. The senses can take care of that. Consciousness can take care of that part of it. One way of saying it is you take care of consciousness. You just take care of consciousness. And the rest gets all worked out for you. Okay? There's nothing to do here. There's nothing to really do but watch. Even accepting her as she is, basically we're talking about non-acceptance of yourself. Remember, it's not about her. It's about your self-concept. Okay? So like who you think you are, that's a self-concept, yeah? And there's a automatic non-acceptance of that self-concept, thinking it's not good enough. And that comes from believing that you actually are that self-concept. You're not. So these things come up to show you how you're not in acceptance of the self-concept that's you. Okay? You cannot help your mom. That's the funny thing. You cannot help your mom. Just get that. Get that in there deep. You can't help anyone. You can't even help your own kids. Okay? It's not like that. Because they're not separate from you. You as yourself are an extension of love. What you're perceiving is just, it's just love with a picture painted over it. It's not really happening. It's just passing. When you find yourself getting defensive, that's awesome. See, don't try to avoid the patterns. In that moment where you find yourself feeling defensive, get that a feeling effect. Get that feeling effect of defensiveness. Let it sink in. Remember, your senses are taking care of yourself. It's all okay. You're going to see through. This is how you see through the non-acceptance. And then there's, you know, accepting her as she is. That's just a no-brainer. It's obvious. There's not even a need to accept her as she is. It just is. You know? Like, okay, that's the way it is. How can she not be accepted? That would be weird. Okay? So, oh, another thing is speaking. Speaking it. You don't have to know what to say. You don't have to know what to say. Just let your energy field, let the relaxation take place in your body's energy field. Let anything come out. Doesn't matter. Because that's not really what's going to transform the mind energy, transform these patterns. What's going to transform the patterns is the way in which you interact with them. You knowing yourself. And in that way, you don't get taken by your perception of feeling defensive, like something's wrong. It's more like, oh, there's defensiveness. Great. That's why I'm perceiving. That's why I'm having perceptions. Right, B. Right, B. I have no idea what that means, but thank you for writing it, Lori. Okay. So when she calls and she says all that kind of stuff, be with your reaction. Don't be thinking about what you're going to say to her. Be with your reaction. The thoughts about what you're going to say to her, just let them float by. You don't have to try to stop them either. Just let them float by. Notice they're floating by. It'll just come out how it needs to. It's okay. Let her talkity talk, talk, talk. She could hear herself saying all that stuff. And you know, you just be in an attitude of, thank you for letting me know. Thank you for letting me know. Okay? With sincerity, though. With sincerity. Okay? Oh, anyone who wants to talk with me can raise their hand. Yay. So glad to have that functionality. All right. I'm opening my notes. I have notes about this. Wisdom dialogue notes. Where'd they go? There they are. It's playing with me. Oh, I see what's happening. There we go. Okay. There were a couple that were posted to Facebook, and one of my sweetie pies had questions about it. It was Lori. Lori, aloha. So here's one of them. Healing the perception comes through changing the way you relate with perception. Were we just talking about that? I think we were. Not through seeking after desirable effects within the perception, which is meant to delay healing. So she said, okay, can we talk about this in the next wisdom dialogue? But that's a couple weeks away. It probably won't be needed at that time. How fun. So if you want to dialogue with me, go ahead and raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll go with it. Healing the perception comes through changing the way you relate with the perception. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Okay? If you're relating with the perception in the way like this needs to be changed and I need to change it. I need to change this thing. You cannot change the thing. You can notice when you're done playing that pattern.
Yeah,
the time will come when you're done playing that pattern out. can't help it. That's just how it goes. Time will
It,
come when you're done playing the pattern out. But while the pattern is playing and you find yourself playing it out, leave it alone. Let it
mm,
play out. Just keep on stepping back from the government, the judgment.
mm,
See? Just keep on stepping back from the judgment about it. Like keep taking a step back from the judgment. Because when you're seeking after the effects that you want, like say a painful pattern is coming up and you want it looks like you want to change it always looks like you want to change something and you don't know, you don't really know. Looks like
it,
something needs to change or someone needs to change, and pursuing that in thought is what delays the healing, of the perception.
um,
See? It holds it to the perception.
hmm,
It holds that energy, that kind of energy. Like, say the kind of energy is a feeling of disappointment, for instance.
yes. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So that say it's a feeling of disappointment, and you feel disappointment, for instance. Um, Say your kid is playing video games all day, not going out to play.
Yeah.
You feel a sense of disappointment. And if you use that sense of disappointment to try to change your perception, like go up there and tell your kid, it's not good that you're playing video games all day, and why don't you go out and play, stuff like that. Or try to devise a plan how you're going to do it a different way, even. See? Try to
Mm,
devise some sort of plan. It's already saying that your disappointment, which you brought to the perception, is caused by the perception. And not only that, it's up to you to change your perception.
mm,
See, that's what drives you into just more perceptions. Like away from healing. It's like going the opposite of healing, opposite direction.
well, maybe you can help me with something that's kind of close to that, but it's not quite. It's different, and I'm not seeing how I can. Okay, so my granddaughter comes here and she loves to play on the iPad.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem with her on it at all.
Okay.
But
Okay.
my son, I've had a talk with my son about this because he hates it that she's on it when she's here. Now, they don't have one, they don't even allow her to watch TV. So
Okay.
I she loves her games. They're not anything. I mean, I let them grow up playing everything. Him and his brother played Grand Theft Auto. I never stopped them from playing video games, and I even let them have the rated ones that weren't supposed to be with their age or whatever.
Okay.
But
So you're a liberal mom. I got it.
okay, so but he's turned it into he believes he's a fuck up because he played so many video games.
Oh, how awesome.
So so he's trying to control. I can see it clearly. He wants to control the way he doesn't want her to be a quote unquote fuck up. He's just blaming the video games, which is bullshit. Anyway,
Well, so here it is. I mean, it's being handed up to you on a silver platter. It's like really, it's like putting this, it's changing it around. It's making it look like it's out there, but you got to bring it back to yourself because look it, when you're talking about it, when you're just talking about it and you say which is bullshit, there's something in your voice, there's something in your tone that's saying that you're believing in your perception as if it's true.
yes.
See, it's not really true that he's judging it. It's not really true that that's going on. That's a perception that you are having. So when you bring it back to that's a perception that's playing out in my own mind, it's for me, it's for this reaction right now that changes the voice tone in me, acting as if that voice tone is acting as if your perception is actually true.
Mm.
See? And so then there's a non acceptance. It's always non acceptance of your self concept, but there's non-acceptance being projected onto him as if he's not doing it right.
Right, because I say, oh, Daddy's coming, and she runs to put it away.
Oh my goodness.
Because she knows she's doing well.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. And, this is the topic for today anyways, kept on coming up today and yesterday, is protecting innocence.
Yeah.
Protecting innocence. So, here's how it looks, really, to protect innocence in a situation like that. I mean, at least as an energetic, it looks. It's like when you get the sense that some sort of judgment is coming, forget about it as if that's a fact, that it's really coming, for one. She doesn't need to learn to run away from judgment either. She can also observe the judgment, have that perception.
What do you mean judgment?
And it's totally okay.
The judgment that she's wrong by playing the.
That's right. That cannot hurt her. See, what teaches her mind that it's dangerous is acting like that judgment is dangerous, like there's something wrong with it, like she needs to hide. I mean, it's not like he's gonna like start lashing out violently or at her or anything, but it's like there's nothing there to that you need to like protect her body from physical imminent harm or anything. She can handle the perception. See, if you're handling the perception, it's like she is you, and you'll see this really clearly in kids. If you're handling the perception, if she looks over to you, he's saying some stuff, and she looks over to you, and you got complete relaxation with it. It's just no problem.
Yeah.
See? But it's a projection onto as if this is harmful for her, which she doesn't have to take it as anything. She learns that from you. She totally learns that from you. Like I notice my kids, like if someone's saying something to them and it feels uncomfortable, they'll look at me and I'll look at them, and they know by the look that I gave them that it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't mean anything.
It's okay, right?
Yeah.
It's always okay.
Yeah. I mean, and see, here's the thing: if some kind of imminent harm, like bodily harm, were about to unfold, your senses just take care of that. If you need to have any kind of physical protection, your senses just take care of that anyways.
Yeah.
You just get, kind of like one way of saying it is guard your thoughts. That you're not pursuing thoughts that are projecting guilt, and basically projecting guilt. Is just saying we're separate. There's something to be afraid of.
Right. And that's what it feels like. I'm afraid that he's not going to let me watch her anymore. There's a bunch of shit in there, different layers of, or I'm not the good grandmother because I let her do what she wants to do.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing about that. If you're hiding and stuff like that, that's an energy that you're dealing with in your mind. And it's like, and it's not like that either. It's also like, hey, here's the thing, it's like just being upfront with people. I love my granddaughter. I love you. When she's over at my house, she'll be using the iPad, period. It's simple. There's no need to hide or be afraid. He's going to say, well, then you can't see her. Then I don't know, you might find yourself making a compromise. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's just, like being afraid doesn't help. Hiding doesn't help. So it's like, it's like just saying, hey, the only way the only way I'd like to do this is like this.
Yeah.
I know you don't like it, but the only way I'd like to do it is like this. So maybe he comes over to my house less because it's like that. I don't know.
Well, I don't see him as a fuck up. He owns his own company, hardwood flooring company. He's doing great.
That's just argument. That's just argument. So you don't even have to entertain that one bit.
Okay.
You don't have to entertain that one bit because that's his perception, And that's another part of it too, and is to be in acceptance of what you're perceiving. You're perceiving this perception that he's saying he has. See, and there's not being an appreciation for having the perception that he perceives himself as a fuck up.
Oh my God, that was a conundrum right there. What? Slow that down. You can't go back there.
Okay, look. You're having a perception of his perception that he's a fuck up.
Right.
And then you're having an argument with that perception. So it's a way you're meeting that perception. You're not making the choice that you really want to make in that situation, because you're taking that perception that you're having of him having a perception that he's a fuck up as if it's real.
Yeah.
And it's a perception. It's for fun.
Oh my God. Wow.
So it's like protecting the innocence there would be just accepting that perception is valid. It's valid. To him, it's truth.
Right.
No matter what your argument is or anything, to him, it's truth. And, how you get to that is just seeing. And that's why we have wisdom dialogues. We're pointing out what it is that you can see. You see these patterns play out. And as you see them play out, you stop to take a part in them, because you can kind of slow the whole thing down and make a different choice. See?
And not.
Yeah. See, what's going on is you make it about being right, being righteous, like it's the right thing to let the kid play the video games. You actually don't have a say in that if you don't have a say in that. Anyways. So, making one choice over the other right, that gives you an argument. Surface argument. So it's like if the kid's dad says no video games, you cannot play video games, not even over here, and then you guys agree to that, then that wouldn't be a problem unless you had some kind of argument about how your way's better. And it's not like one way is better or worse. Like, put the thing about video games up there. It's not like one way of doing it, like allowing video games or not allowing video games, is the right way to do it or anything like that. It's just that when you see that it's all choiceless, you just go for compassion, and you don't know what that could be. There's not really a right or wrong to it. You just go for compassion. You soften in your own energy field, and you're led automatically by spirit. So it could be anything. See?
When you say it's choiceless, it's basically just what's happening. And
yeah.
It's not right or wrong. It just is.
Exactly. And if you open up and allow yourself the freedom, then you start to hear what your calling is, what you're called to do, and let that be. See, let that be okay. It's like when you're saying that's not the right way to do it, it's kind of like saying I wouldn't do that. And that's making a choice for yourself through concepts. And that's not really you. That's not really how you operate. That's not how you communicate with spirit and take notice, take on the call right now to whatever it is. It could be that you're limiting video game time. You don't know.
Right. See? I don't. Right. Yeah. I do see. I don't know.
Yes, exactly. That you just don't know. So if you think you know the right way, then you automatically have an argument with it, and that's why you would be perceiving some sort of things that are unclear.
Right.
It muddies the water when you have an argument, when you think your way is the right way.
Got it. Because that is so confusing. When the mind starts to think it's right.
Yeah. So and see how it goes back to also taking your perception as real, as if that's really happening, as if he really is saying that about being a fuck up, and he really is forcing his kid not to play video games. That is a perception you're having.
Right.
You don't have to argue with that. It just is the way it is.
So
Apparently. It's just like watching a movie, that's the way the movie is. Doesn't make it true.
right.
See? And if there's, if there's anything that needs to be done, it will be done. So there's nothing to do because all doing is in the past and future anyways.
Right.
In your mind. So it just, yeah.
Every single thing.
Yeah.
That, quote unquote happening is a perception.
Yes.
Everything.
And it's for you, and you're energetically relating with that perception. See? It's all about you. It's all about your self-concept, let's say that.
Right. The self, the idea of the self. So,
yeah.
So if there's complete silence, not that I'm in control over what's coming out of this mouth or whatever, but if there's silence, that's basically not arguing with what is. It's acceptance of what is, no matter what it is.
Well, you got to watch your thoughts. That's where it is. Not and what comes out of your mouth. That's awesome to look at too, but that's the effect of thoughts.
Words coming out are the effect of thoughts.
Yeah, it's the effect of thinking.
Well, not always, though.
No?
Well, no, I had it. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. I had an experience after going to the silent retreat there for 5 days. And I came home and there was a lot of cleansing, a lot of crying, a lot of, oh my God. Because me not talking for 5 days, not only not talking, I couldn't look in somebody's eyes, I couldn't read, couldn't write, nothing for 5 days, which did some shifting.
Yeah.
So when there was a time when I was laying in bed next to Peter, and all of a sudden I was bawling about something, deeply bawling. No hyperventilating. It was deep, like I don't even know. And after the crying happened, there was a perception of the body being like black 3D cardboard cutout or something. It was completely black, like there was nothing. And then I went, there's no thoughts. I said, this must be the stillness. This is what I'm saying to Peter. This must be the stillness that Eckhart Tolle talks about. I said, there's no thoughts. And then I went, oh my God, but I'm still talking. So talking doesn't come from thought.
Look, talking is a manifestation. Every manifestation is first a thought. It's first a thought. Just because you don't know the thought is there, you don't know it, you can't point to, okay, this is the thought that caused it. But manifestation itself, all manifestation, okay, it's a result of thought. Even the best, highest thoughts, even the best, highest manifestations, it's all made of thought. Every sound you hear yourself speaking, it's made of thought. You can channel through different levels of thought. It's basically like all channeling. See?
So what do you mean, like a highest
thought? What's that?
What do you mean by highest thought?
Okay, here's what I mean by it. It's free of delusion. It's free of the idea of separation as if it's true. So basically, there's 2 thought systems. One of them is completely based in separation.
Okay, yes.
Okay. One of them is based in the truth. They're
Okay.
both in the mind. See? So it's like, and it's like this, it's like there's layers in the mind and thought patterns in the mind. You can get closer and closer to what's true in thought and further away from it in thought. So if you say like the highest thought, it's like the highest thought contains no guilty consciousness, let's say. See? But anything that you can perceive, so you can perceive talking. You could hear it. You could feel the vibration of it coming out,
Yeah.
right? All that is a perception. It's like on a screen. It's playing for you. And here's what I see people getting in themselves into sticky situations like this because they think they have had an awakening. It's amazing. It's like that brings the whole perception to sort of like this standstill. Oh my God, I've had this awakening. Now what? Or wow, that was so good. And then now I'm back to over here. And see, that's the thing. Even that moment where it's like, this must be the silence. That is on the screen. It's playing on a screen. It also did not happen. Okay. So it's like, as wonderful as those experiences and welcome as they may be, the ego uses them to make attachment. See? As if that really happened. Did not happen. Did not happen. There's only right now. There's only right now. So, attachment plays out in a lot of different ways. But one major way it plays out for people, especially people who are, familiar with spiritual concepts and stuff like that, they have a perception they got to this certain place of bliss and then lose it.
That's exactly what, when I first had this is where I go in, the first awakening, and I hear it when I say my awakening.
Don't you love it? Don't you love that?
I was so, talk about bliss. It was beyond bliss. I had no clue what the frig. It was just.
Well, let me tell you something that might help you out with that. That was a perception. It did not happen.
Well, it certainly changed the trajectory of the idea of Lori's life.
Yes, it changed the idea of who Lori was.
Right.
Now, see, it's heavy. The idea of who Lori is, where you see that it's heavy, and that experience, that perceived experience, something that never really happened, is being played out over and over and over again like it's an important thing, and it's not. It's not. It's totally unimportant. It's meaningless, actually. Remember we talked before about how everything is meaningless.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I had this experience. I've talked to people who, for 4 months, I just felt so, and then all of a sudden, that's because that was bullshit. It's the ego messing around. It's the ego messing around with you.
So that's sent me.
It's not like that. It's not like that. It's not like a joy or a bliss that you get and then lose.
That's exactly what it felt like. Hope
I know. That's why I'm saying it's bullshit.
Oh my God, you're completely blowing my whole story to pieces.
Look, like the truth comes on in a much more subtle way. It's like a calm, quiet opening. Okay? If you depend on an experience, and see, for me, this is how it would play out, because I shared before about like going to Vipassana and how overwhelmed I felt with joy after like day 6 or whatever day it was. Overwhelmed because I saw something. I was like, holy shit, nothing is ever going to be the same. And I could sense myself getting attached to that feeling, that intense, joyful feeling. And, just as sensing it, just in sensing it, going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, don't try to hold on to that. Because
Right.
that's not where it is. It's in the seeing what I see right now. It's in the seeing what I see right now. There will probably be, in fact, for me, it was like there will probably be a lot more intensity right now that I know what's going on, you know. And with like, yeah, awesome. Not like trying to get back to that feeling, because the feeling of awesomeness, the feeling of the spirit, the sense of the spirit is with you no matter what kind of patterns are playing out. You still can feel embraced. So it's like, as much as you've allowed your spirit to be in charge basically of your body, the more comfort in every situation, throughout every different emotional challenge or whatever seems to be arising for you. You know, the kind of challenge, the guilty challenge. Guilty challenges all day long. The guilty challenge is all day long. Did I say that right? Did I do that right? That's all day long. You just watch those patterns playing out. Just keep on watching those patterns playing out. And don't try to get somewhere or compare how you feel to another time. It's just to another time, an imaginary projection of that feeling.
Mm.
So
I
it's like your spirit loves you and your spirit supports your joy no matter what. So if you're basically protecting your innocence, then you're allowing your spirit to move you, to move your decisions, in your decision making, which aren't really your decision making, right? We talked about that before,
right.
as far as whatever's going on in the world. So it's like your spirit moves in your decision making and makes the decisions that support and uplift the joyful feeling anyways.
Mm.
And your spirit also leads you into decisions where you're like, what the hell am I even doing here? But it's good because you were led. Because you were basically, it's like just allowing yourself to be led and not trying to make your own decisions, not trying to make choices for yourself.
Stop trying to be so smart. Be a
Yeah,
dumbass. Be,
be
be
a
a dumb.
dumbass. Be a dumbass who knows nothing about guilt.
Mm.
Knows nothing about guilt. So when you get the sense that something is off, you know right away, wow, there's some kind of guilty perception that I'm projecting onto right now.
Soon as it's uncomfortable,
Yes.
there's guilt.
Even slightly uncomfortable.
Mm.
Even slightly uncomfortable. You have to be mistaken. You have to be taking yourself as something that you're not.
Mm.
Okay?
God, there's so much peace in that.
Yes, and you deserve it.
Mm.
You can look at the whole world, all your perception, as your child, not as if they came out of your body, which you may have that perception too, but they are born out of your own mind.
Mm.
Including your own self-concept.
Yes, I do see that my own self concept, I mean, is totally made up of thought. So, of course, that would mean everything else that I'm looking at is the same. Because
Yeah.
without perception of this Lori character, that's the only reason there is something out there.
Yeah, it's to show you yourself. So when you find yourself projecting onto your son as if he's doing it wrong, and onto your granddaughter as if she's getting a bad parenting, um, you know, just look at that. It's all projected out of you.
Mm.
And all those judgments they're being projected because that's how you feel about yourself. Those are some of the characters within your field that you take to be real, as if you can be victimized. There's some characteristics as if you can be victimized. Someone can make you not do something you want to do or something. Look at all these people are in dances together. It's all playing out according to plan.
Well, when I think about my sister, it was the same thing. She was, really hard on her kids growing up. And I was the aunt to save them. And this is the same freaking pattern. I've seen it. And my girlfriend's son,
Yep.
and now my granddaughter. And I'm going, there's a pattern here.
Yeah, you're always trying to save these kids.
Yes.
And that's not protecting the innocent, because it's making them out to be something that they're not. And it's making the parent out to be wrong for the
Right.
way they do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically the innocent is your own mind. So it's like, you're not projecting onto anyone.
Oh my God.
Letting things play as they do. If there's any interception needed physically on the physical, your senses will play out in that way. If you focus your attention and your energy to protecting that innocent spirit as it's manifesting in all these different ways in your own perception, and everything will start to work out, you'll see.
Oh my God. This is so. Wow. Wow. I never thought this was going to be seen tonight. I wasn't even saying anything. Wow.
So yay, that was the one that you said it probably won't be needed at that time.
I know, right? What the frig?
So Constance wrote, someone's experience of the highest thought would only bless, never blame. So even when you hang on to any experience, even when it is joyful, that automatically takes you in the opposite direction. Yay. Yes. Yeah, that's for some people more difficult to see. I've had some interactions with people who are, in a state of feeling guilty, guilty feelings. And it's obvious just by the interaction. It's obvious by the voice tone, by the things that come out, just obvious. Yet they've had this experience where they consider themselves awakened. So that's really interesting, because there's no one to be awakened like that. You could say that's like awake in the dream. Like, okay, all right, I know it's all a dream, and I know that everyone's doing everything for me, and blah, 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 but it's fucked up. And I'm sorry for existing. And it's like that isn't the same as awakening from the dream. If to awaken from the dream, you've got to see that even the most joyful experiences, they didn't happen. They're meaningless. That is meaningless. There's good feeling that you try to hang on to. You don't have to hang on at all. That is who you are. That good feeling, that blissful feeling, that is who you are. It's real all the time.
So when I was in that state for that month, after the first awakening, I'm still going to say that just for
It's awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome.
There was that blissful state for a month of pure love, just friggin' oozing out of every pore. Clarity, the clarity of, there was what that you just read from that girl there. Okay, so it was held on to, which of course, when it went away, Well, I remember there was a thought that came, this is how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that clenching, uncomfortable
Uh-huh.
feeling. It wasn't meant to be that way.
Yep.
So that came, and then when it all went away, and it
Well,
was
you know what? It didn't all go away. It's just that you had perceptions and then you believed in them as a reason to take yourself out of it.
okay. Wait, you got to say that
You're just
again.
believing in your perception. And it's right now. Well, it's not like it gets taken away. It's always there. It always is who you are, you know. It's just that you say no to it by believing a perception, taking yourself out of it. You're taking yourself out of it by believing
Okay,
the perception.
okay. So let me
Aloha,
give you this. Okay, this was an example of somebody coming up to me. Okay,
yeah.
so I'm in my natural state of whatever, which is a pretty good feeling normal most of the time. Somebody comes up to me, like say Peter comes up with the guys at work are dropping like they're not they're he's projecting in the future of negative, that we're not going to have any money because the guys
Awesome.
aren't okay. So, and all of a sudden there's that clenching in the belly, like, oh, something's wrong, which that right there, that's my clue that it is not true.
Yeah.
That's a perception right there.
Yeah,
It's not true.
absolutely. That's totally true. Yep. It's an energy looking for agreement. It's just an energy looking for agreement. And any kind of clenching that goes on in your body's energy field, that is the automatic kind of like knee-jerk reaction to it. You don't have to try to change that.
No,
You don't
it's
have to try
it's
to
my
change that. It's
clue.
like, good. It's like, okay, there's the clenching. All you're doing is observing it and not believing in it and pursuing thoughts about it to make it like the clenching is really justified.
Right. So it's just saying that's my temple bell to tell me that there's something believed right here that is not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, isn't that fun? So,
Actually,
for me, it's like there's this watching that occurs like that, and I'll immediately sense what is being asked of me by that offering, that energy offering of, hey, guys are dropping like flies. That's like an energy offering. What's being expected of me, what's being asked for. It's like an energy offering, and like internally I can sense the energy of it, and just kind of like an energy of no thank you, and feel a relaxation. And then when
oh,
he would look at me and he would look at my face, he would know
right.
that I'm not affected by that.
Yeah.
See?
Oh my God, this is so beautiful. God, dude,
Yay. I'm
so
so
beautiful.
glad you're having a beautiful time with it.
Oh my God. Oh, jeez. It's like I know you've said this to me before, but I don't know. It seems to be very clear tonight. I don't know. It seems to be on a different level or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, let it be that for the moment, and watch any attachment to it. Like, oh my God, now I'm gonna get it and stuff like that. Just let it be gentle, sort of like a surrendering. Let it
Mm,
kind of, infuse yourself gently. Don't
mm,
worry about playing out patterns. Playing out patterns is not a problem. That's the whole purpose of, giving yourself. You could say you gave yourself all these patterns to
right.
show themselves to you. See, and you might play them out for a while before you can see them clearly enough to where it's like that pattern isn't necessary anymore. But remember, however you see yourself, whatever situation you find yourself in, it's not really happening. And having the perception of it, you are so appreciated
Mm,
just for having the perceptions that you're having. Okay, because they cannot play out forever. And like what we're looking at by looking at the patterns in this way, we're shortening the illusion of time of how long it takes anyway.
mm.
That's shortening the illusion of time. And we can't even help it. You're just automatically drawn, called to it.
Mm.
See?
Yeah, I see. Literally, this is all just happening because if anybody like my mom, my dad, I know their projections. If they sat and listened to you and I talk, my mother and father would be like, "What the hell is she?" Because this is so
It's not
off.
for everyone.
It's,
Not yet. Not yet.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
yet. It will be, though.
But to be able to, I'm so grateful to this character who is willing to listen, even though it makes in the beginning was like, what the fuck? And keep coming back, even and just being innocently led, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's cute. It's sweet.
instead of shutting it off and saying that girl's whacked, I'm not talking to her anymore.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all perfect, even if that occurs.
Yeah.
It is all perfect.
Mm.
So hooray. Okay, so you have one more on here.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. You're on that WTF thing. One day or a couple days. All right. Even plants seem to go through a life cycle that ends in death.
Mm.
Yeah? Everyone see that, right? Even plants seem to go through a life cycle that ends in death. That's because the body's senses are functioning correctly. That's what they're made to do. Perceive separation.
Because the plant's not really there.
Not like that.
It's a projection too.
Yeah, it's just pure divine essence. Pure divine essence. The body's senses are making something out of pure divine essence that looks like it has a life cycle. It's dutifully reporting the effects of guilty self-belief. And see, when the guilty self-belief is no longer believed, no longer thought to be true, that anything is guilty, that anything is separate, no longer true, that anything thought to be true, that anything is separate, the plant takes on a completely different, could say, what would it be? Completely, it's not really an image because it's an extension of you, but it takes on a different essence. Not anything that can die, not anything that's going to wither and die. See, takes on a completely different essence, and that's what's talked about. With when all of the guilt has been healed in the mind, when there's no more guilt in the mind, you cannot see in separation. You cannot have that perception because that's how the body senses function. But see, there won't also be a body with senses. That's why the whole thing opens right up. It's like there's this perception of separation, and all of a sudden, once it's opened up and it's revealed what it actually is, there's no body, there's no sense of a body to sense it either. See, and then that plant way differently. You know that plant in a different way. You don't know it as something that starts from a seed and gets bigger and grows up and becomes, and then it dies. That's the same kind of scenario with a human baby. And it's just not like that. There's no need for birth and death. We made that kind of stuff up.
Oh boy.
It's the body's senses that are showing that that's going on, and that's not even happening. No one ever changed from their divine essence. Not even a plant.
Oh my God, Hope, you are blowing it for me. Because because what I say to people is this baby is born and it starts about 18 months old, starts looking in the mirror, and it's told that it's Lori, and it starts believing that it's a person separate from life. Now, before it was one with life, and then it starts believing it is separate from life, and it starts believing it can do right and wrong and good and bad, and
Well, yeah, that's all perception. That's all the perception forming a self-concept. That's why you can have the perception of being a baby and getting older. It's a self-concept forming.
right.
You don't need a self-concept forming and reforming and all that kind of stuff, because you basically, you could say you are a concept of the divine, complete as you are. No need to form and reform and start as a baby and get big and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But that's made up because it's a self-concept being born. It's a self-concept growing up.
Right.
It's not really who you are. And, all of the things that you had people condition you with is what you asked them to condition you with. you know, you got to get the sense that you're separate. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to perceive in separation. You got to get that sense somehow.
Hmm.
See? So
And that sense comes from feeling guilty.
Yep, it does, and when wanting to experience the effects of it, wanting to experience the effects of your belief,
And
but
then,
really deep down wanting to be whole. It's just that there's the guilt keeping it like you're not whole.
right.
So it's like running into this self concept where you're building a self out of a concept that's unfolding. It's like you're making yourself.
Right.
You're
With all,
making nothing of value and nothing that lasts. So when you see that, the entire self-concept that you've made is just handed over to spirit, and the spirit is able to use it. And then you've got no more perceived troubles. Because it's
it's
not yours anymore. It's surrendered.
so that's what spirit is using the body.
It's up to you. It's like it's like your body can't have two employers. Because it's a full-time job. It's either employed by the spirit or it's employed by the ego, and then that's always a choice. And it's always a choice in who you're taking yourself to be. You think you have to do it, then you're asking the ego to take over. It's like you can't trust. You have to do it. You have to make this self-concept into something that's worthy.
Right. Because that separation, that idea of separation is immediately felt like it's not worth it. It's not.
Yeah, you can tell, you can feel it. It's uncomfortable. It's a kind of uncomfort that's a pain. There's different kinds of uncomfort. Like, it's uncomfortable to also recognize that I made this all up
Mm,
in a lot of situations, especially when it seems like someone's doing something fucked up. So that's an uncomfortable too. Get to know the different kinds of uncomforts. There's an uncomfort in not wanting to leave your safety zone, your
right.
ego safety zone of thinking who you are, of thinking in your self-concept, not wanting to leave that. And then there's the uncomfort of taking something untrue as if it's true.
Right. Right.
See the difference? So it's
Yes.
like if you know that you recognize the truth that you're okay and nothing is really happening, but you don't want to know that right now. That's one kind of uncomfort. I don't want to know that right now because I want to hold on to this right now.
I want to know.
Well, okay, awesome. So look at what doesn't want to know, like when, say, you know, you think you're right about what your granddaughter needs.
Mm.
Okay? Because that's what doesn't want to know. That's what doesn't want to know. That's where you might experience some discomfort where you go, wait a minute, that's not even happening. This is arising in my perception, and that's just an argument that I'm making.
Mm.
It might be an uncomfort in the surrendering of that. See?
Mm.
But it's so much more uncomfort. This is what the ego doesn't want you to know. It's so much more uncomfort to hold on to it.
Well, exactly. That's why
And you're not going through it that way.
I go through the uncomfort, because I know that
Yeah.
it's not going to kill me. I know
Right.
that I just want to feel it all of it.
Yeah. So it's just a surrender in that moment.
We're going camping with two other couples, not this coming weekend, the following weekend, and that should be interesting.
Yeah. Always is.
It's going to be fun. Yep.
Well, look at the reason bodies are drawn together. Any bodies are drawn together. That includes friends. That includes marriages. That includes kids. Anything. Bodies are drawn together for one purpose and one purpose only. Okay, and that's awakening out of the dream of separation.
Right.
Nothing else. Nothing else. Don't try to use it to your own. Here's one way to see if you're trying to use it to your own advantage, let's say. Like, see, you're in a situation with people, maybe you're having some drinks and stuff, kind of like loosening up, whatever. And then you notice that you want to tell a story. You find yourself wanting to tell a story to get some kind of recognition. Look for this. It's subtle.
Okay.
And just watching this need to get some kind of recognition, that's how you're using the body, trying to use the body for the ego's purposes. And if you just watch that, that kind of stuff will start to calm down. Like even the things that you say and the things that you share, they start to take on the spirit's purpose only because of you, because you're choosing to let the spirit have it all the time in the moment. It's always recognizing what the purpose is. Purpose is always the same, right? No matter what a perceived purpose is. It might be to go have some fun and relaxed on the surface. But you don't really know what can happen. You know that the purpose is always awakening out of the dream of separation, ending the illusion of suffering.
Mm.
Okay? Underlying purpose of everything. And here's the interesting thing is that when you're surrendering to that purpose constantly, you're always feeling better and better.
Mm.
Not like with these big highs and lows, but even when a pattern comes up for you where it's like, wow, this is heavy, it feels heavy, this feels heavy, you still have all this comfort with you, like you have something else on your side. See?
Mm.
You just surrender everything to that purpose. Don't try to get anything for yourself. See? Even if you're led to a situation where it seems like you are there for yourself, like say it's some kind of business deal. You're showing up for a business deal. You might notice that you feel hopeful that it's going to go a certain way. Just recognize that that's only a feeling and it doesn't actually matter. That doesn't change how your senses are going to play out. That doesn't change how you're going to go for it or whatever. Just recognizing it allows you to, on the surface play out as if doing your best.
Mm. Well, that's
Okay?
all you can do in any given moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So hooray.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That was awesome.
Thank you for joining. I love you. I appreciate you.
Oh, ditto. Holy crap. Um,
Okay, so of course, feel free to raise your hand. I'm going on to
okay.
another question.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you too.
Aloha. And if anyone else would like to speak with me, go ahead and raise your hand. You're also totally Welcome to Write to Me. I love you. Thank you, Phoebes. I love you so much. Thank you for joining. Thank you for drawing that out. Yay. All right. So this one came in an email. My beautiful, beautiful friend. Could you please speak about the mental health system and the psychiatric world, what they are trying to suppress with the drugs they use? Okay, let's just start with one thing first, that there isn't a mental health system or psychiatric world, really. That's a perception, okay? It's a perception. Let's just start out with that it's a perception. Let it be a perception. That's a perception that's not a perception that plays in everyone's experience, too. Like when it's playing out in your field, say your field of experience. Like right now, since I just read that, now mental health system and psychiatric world are playing out in my field of experience. Other than hearing and seeing that right there, right there, those don't really play out in my field of experience that much. They're not really relevant. They're relevant to those who take them to be relevant. They're relevant when we try to analyze them or use them in some way or explain something about them, then they become relevant. But they're not really anything, just like really government isn't anything. It's not really a relevant thing. You could say that consciousness is using these things to demonstrate self-belief. Whatever arises in your field of experience in that instant, that thing is there to demonstrate self-belief. It's not really there, though. There's not really a system. You can say that the most real system, which isn't real in itself, is the system of thought that says we're separate. Those kinds of things have no bearing. And it depends who's relating with it. Who's relating with that perception? If you find yourself in some kind of an agreement where you're maybe close with someone who's in the mental health system, then yeah, it's going to be in your perception. That's the perception you're having. That there's a mental health system and someone you love is in it too. So then that's a perception you're having. That doesn't mean that thing actually exists. That doesn't mean that one that you love is actually in that system. Still, nothing's happening. Who knows what they mean to do? It doesn't matter. They can't do anything to anyone without their authority. Who knows what they're trying to suppress with drugs? Who cares? Who cares? They can't touch you. Can't do anything to anyone else. If you have the perception that it's doing something, you might gain some knowledge about it. And that's just the playing out. That's just the playing out of consciousness. You might even find yourself filing a lawsuit against something for doing something. It's okay. That's a perception. It's playing out on the surface. That's not actually happening. You just keep on going back to that's not actually happening and what the purpose is of having this perception. The same as all perception. Remember, no difference between perception. You can say, Protecting the innocent. Once again, protecting the innocent. Like everyone is a childlike spirit. And your perception of them is born out of your own mind. It's not even really who they are. Protecting the innocent. Protecting the divine spirit again. Again and again. Against mental attacks. Against mental demonstrations that we're separate. See? Yes. So I have a friend on today, and she's actually she might not come on and talk with me, but she's here with us and listening and stuff, and she is helping me out with a book. She's actually not just helping me out, she's doing all of it. She's like taking the words that I've said before, written mostly, and putting it into categories and stuff like that. And it all has to do with children. Yeah, it all has to do with children. The way we perceive children as if they are not good enough, like we're supposed to mold them into something. One of the conversations we had was about, projecting addiction onto them. The example given was video games, getting really into video games, a kid getting really into video games where they're playing all day and all night. And the parent would make that into an addiction because that's what they've been taught. Before they ever had kids, they've been taught that addiction is true. And so, since that's the truth in their mind, they're going to see manifestations of that. And one of the biggest manifestations that we see, especially, if we've had kids or have them, is they're mirroring that right back, and you're trying to stop them from being that, which you've judged as possible. Try and stop them from being addicted. Trying to prevent them from being a loser. Trying to prevent them from, having a baby underage or anything like that. Becoming a drug addict. See? It's like all these kinds of fears come up about how we have these things. Being a fuck up. Yes, Lori, that's a good one. Yeah, and it's all these ideas that if we don't do it right, then we're going to fail. And so that ends up getting projected onto the kid. Like, you can't do it like that. You can't eat like that. Look, you're getting fat. Or you can't just play video games all the time. Like, who do you think you are? You can just sit around and play video games all day? You need to get some sunshine. You need to get some fresh air. You need to eat the right foods, all these different things. It seems so logical. In fact, it seems like if you don't do that, you're like a neglectful parent. That's what's kind of tricky about it. That's what's kind of tricky. See? And, the idea that, like Lori, your kid could be a fuck up, somehow could be a fuck up, that's just conditioning. That's just conditioning. If you're not buying into that, then they're not going to buy into it either. They're not going to buy into the guilty thing either. Because I'm talking about kids. They're impressionable. They're so impressionable. And you, as a parent, if you're not buying into the fact that guilt is real, the idea that guilt is real as if it's a fact, then neither is your kid. Then they're free. Then they can follow their creativity because they don't have to focus on, am I doing it right? Am I enough? Is this okay? They can just follow their bliss, so to speak. Just keep on following their bliss. You show them by example, for one. I had one of my experiences was, am I going to just do this forever, Mom? Am I just gonna play video games forever? I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I feel like I want to do something else. Okay, something will come to you. But all I know how to do now is play video games. That's all right. Go ahead. See? That's what I mean by protecting the innocent. These energy offerings are like, agree with me that something's wrong with me. Agree with me that something can go wrong. Agree that there might be a problem. When there's no problem, there's no problem. Creativity can work itself out. These kids and just kids in general, they're like testing the energies. Testing the energies, so to speak. It's like, what will this get me? What kind of feeling will this get me over here? Let them. It's educational. Way more educational than the kind of education that's tried to be forced on them. Way more educational. Test the energies. Nothing's going wrong. Oh, you like to do that? Okay. Oh, you like to eat that over there? Okay. Support, support, support. Whatever perception they're looking for. Support, support, support. Whatever it is, whatever they think they need. Support. That's all. Not, oh yeah, you're right, that's not good. You shouldn't be doing that. Oh, you know how you can make yourself to not engage in that so much? You can do this and this and this. Not necessary, unless that's what comes. But what I found in my own, memory of what happened, which didn't really happen, but I get to share about it anyways, is that I don't have to make any kind of suggestions like that. They come up with it all on their own when everything's okay. I'm bored. Oh, that's wonderful. What's that like? What is it? Who's afraid of bored? Is that one the one about idle hands or the devil's workshop or something like that? Let them be bored. It's okay. One friend of mine asked, do you ever go in there and tell your kid that they should be something? I forgot what it was. I go, well, let's put it this way. I don't go and tell my kid anything unless they would like to hear from me. They want to talk to me. Go in there and tell them, hey, you should be, like they're not going to turn out okay. They just pick up on the energies. They just pick up on the energy fields. That's their conditioning. They come to be conditioned by the energy fields around them. The innocent spirit doesn't need a guilty concept to be loving and kind and gentle. But if it's conditioned with guilty concepts, this innocence turns jaded, as if it could be wrong. Guilty feeling. Guilty feeling. The main thing in raising children is protecting them from that guilty feeling projected from you, not anyone else. Not anyone else. They're projected from you onto yourself, onto other people. Remember, the child is also in your perception. And that child is also in your perception. So any guilty feeling that you're just permitting, pursuing it as a thought form. Oh my gosh, they shouldn't be. And believe me, I know this is not it's not the easiest, because it's getting through your conditioning. Looking through your conditioning. It could be really hard. It could be like this. It'd be like, "Oh my goodness. Ah! I want him to be trembling even. Because you feel like they're doing it so wrong. There'll be a trembling. That's okay. Let the trembling be. You'll find that to be way, way more centering. Even though there's that trembling and like, oh my goodness, how can that be that it's all okay? Way more centering than trying to hold on to it not being okay. People do that all the way into where their children are an adult now. As you can see. Like they're doing it wrong. Look at, you can see Lori with your son, your adult son. Now he's parenting wrong. That's just carrying over a pattern. Just carrying over a pattern from when he was not an adult. The same patterns at play. And then he even thinks that he's doing something wrong. Of course, he thinks that he's doing something wrong. It's different from what you think, but it's the same thing. The same kind of energy. That energy of doing wrong. That energy of doership, period. So even as your child is grown, you can still protect the innocence. And it's like opening up a way for them to discover the innocence. They can discover it for themselves because you see right through what's being made as if they're guilty. Look at how it's coming from your own mind, like, he's doing this. He's really parenting her like that. He's really telling her that she can't play video games. And that's wrong. And that's just a habit, a dance between you and him. That can happen when they're a little kid. It can happen when they're adult. Usually it keeps on playing out the whole lifetime unless it's seen through. I know one friend of mine, sister of mine, that her sons stopped talking to her. They're bigger sons, a little older teenagers. They both stopped talking to her. And she just came into a beautiful acceptance of that. Not only were they not talking about her, they were talking some shit. It just got to the point where there was just like no choice, just to be like in complete acceptance of that. And not with guilt. Not with, oh, I did something wrong. Even though she hears them talking about things that, she might even remember herself doing. Still recognizing it's all a perception, it's all a feeling. That went on for a couple years, and then the sons came back to her, just more beautiful than ever. There's this non-resistance. The non-resistance. They can sense that. It wasn't trying to get them back. More caring and loving than I've ever seen. But it's not making them wrong for, it's not making them or herself wrong for them not wanting to talk to her. Not only not wanting to talk to her, but talking about her like she's a freaking, I don't know. That's the kind of perception. Totally shifts. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate you. Kids are like the closest, you could say they're the closest mirror of ourselves. Closest mirror of ourselves. If you don't have kids, doesn't mean you don't have close mirrors. Doesn't really matter. Could be someone that you hold very dear, someone very close in your life, someone very close to you. And the reason I say that is because the projections go on to those ones that we're the closest to. And it's as if it's good for them. It's as if those projections are good for them. Like, oh, I see that you're not the right height. Too bad you're so short. It's all like that. It's funny. That's not good enough. Instead of just enjoying whatever it is that comes into your perception, whatever it is about them that comes into your perception, because they aren't even capable of doing anything. No one is. No one is capable. We're all watching a show. But this idea, that pressure that's put on ourselves as parents, it reflects in the school system that most people find themselves in. I don't really find myself in something like that. I mean, I have one kid who goes to school right now. I have one kid who goes to school, but if he wants me to show up for something, he'll let me know. I don't have to make him go or anything like that. Make sure sure when his report card comes, I look at it. To make sure he does anything though. If his grades go from an A to a C, it's not going to be like, oh, no. And if it was, that's fine too. It would just be watched for what it is. It's as if. It's just a show though. And one thing that's fun too is you might get a projection of guilt from a kid, like you're not doing it right as a parent. Also just for fun. Also an opportunity to protect the innocent. See? As in, not defend. Just hear, listen, hear it, watch the reaction. Hear and watch the reaction. That's all. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. It's all changing. It's all changing along with your body's energy field. If you hear that you've been a bad parent, you hear that, which is like pretty much what your son is saying to you, Lori. You didn't get him off the video game, so now he's a fuck up. Just hear that. Watch the defensiveness come up. And Watch how it just calms down because it's always coming out of your own body's energy field. But the perception tries to hook you. Like, oh, now this is happening. Now I've been a bad mom, according to him. So then it's like you want to defend it. Or you might go into the mode where, oh, he's right, I've been a terrible mom. The thing is, there's no past. And, basically doing the best you can only occur right now. Right now, doing the best you can would be protecting the innocent and not buying into, not following a pattern that says, I could have done anything. That anything went wrong. Did anything win at all, actually? I had one friend who thought she did something. We were out for the night. She thought she did something. She left the group. She came back. She's like flustered, like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. She's crying and stuff. And, I didn't even ask her what happened. I said, no, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. Oh, everyone's going to be so pissed at me. Everyone's going to be so. Nothing happened, though. Are you willing to admit right now that nothing happened? She's like, well, look at all of them. People were like standing around judgmental. I go, trust me, everything's going to change if you drop it. Nothing happened. She said, I can do that? I go, yeah, right now. Just from your body's energy field. It didn't happen. She stood there and I saw her drop it. And all the drama was gone. No one really wanted to hang on to the drama, the judgment, nothing. No one really wanted to hang on to that. And she was willing to drop it. She didn't have to say, I didn't really do anything. It's just that her face cleared up. She looked clear and happy again. And she was open for love. And that's what happened. That's what's available in the moment right now as you accept the compassion for yourself. The innocent. Because nothing happened. Accept the love and compassion for yourself right now, and that's what is extended into your perception. That's what changes your perception. That's what heals your perception. Extending that compassion, which you don't have to do. Just extends forth from you like natural. It's so automatic to, okay, have compassion for another, but not for the self so easily. Yeah, it looks like that, but it's all the same. It's all the same. I mean, look, when there's no gratitude for hearing that you did it wrong. When there's no gratitude for hearing that you did it wrong, like you raised your son wrong. They might say that stuff like that to you when they're a kid too, and when they're adult, who knows? There's not compassion for it. There's not even a willing to listen to it. There's only a willing to listen to your argument about why it's not even true. So that's making it as if guilt is real. Anytime you defend yourself, you're making it as if guilt is real. It's like trying to kill the innocent. Which you can't really do. But in your mind, you can make it look like guilt replaced it. Needing to be right. It's another thing. Needing to be right about how things go in the world, for one thing. One, My young son will be like, that's not true. I'll just go, okay. Like I say something like, for instance, these buses run on such and such. Oh, that's not true. Okay. You're right about that. Not really true anyways. The sky is blue because, oh, that's not true. Yeah, you're right. They don't need to know anything. They already know what they need to know. They can sense their guidance. They can sense their calling. What parents and a lot of adults try to do is blot out their calling and replace it with concepts about how they should be. Now, Missy, we always say thank you when someone gives us such and such. They can find that out. They can find that out. They're watching. I have to make them be a certain way. I have to make them act a certain way so you don't get embarrassed or something. What do we say when you apologize to them right now? What do you say? Yeah, what do you say? Exactly. But watch that you're not forming judgments about how other people are doing it. Don't follow that. Like that's wrong and you need to tell them something or something like that. Because that's really the same thing. That's acting like your perception is real. Just watch. Nothing's wrong with how anything is going. They're all children. You could say they're all your children. Everyone that you perceive, it's all your child. It's born out of your own mind. You know, my friend Julie is helping me frame it in a reference for parents. But really what it comes down to is we're the parent of everything we perceive, of everyone in the perception. And it's the will of our source to protect the innocent. If we're not aligned with that, then it's projecting guilt, basically using the perception to project guilt. Isn't that for fun? Yes, Lori, it is. That's so funny. Yay. I guess Lori knows Julie, so that's fun. She asked me what her last name is. I don't say last names on here unless someone wants me to, unless the person with that last name wants me to, though. Yay. So it's just about not trying to run yourself with concepts. Not trying to use concepts to try to run your own show. Not trying to use kids and people as if they're props in your show. They're there for you in a different way. They're there for you to help you see something, not to conform. What happens for people who become parents is they quickly learn that they're expected to conform to a certain norm of how to do that. Lori's very excited that it's you, Julie. Yay. Apparently you're like famous or something. What about bullying? My older son is bullied at work by 2 women. Wonderful. The other night he came home and just started yelling and getting it out. And when he was done, he said, "Thanks, Mom. I needed to get that out. Is that my projection?" We sat and he asked if we could meditate and then went down to play video games. He is 24. How awesome. How awesome. Yeah. Okay, so you're having the perception of him being bullied. You're having the perception of him being bullied. So it's as if you're being bullied. It's as if that in your body's energy field. Okay? It's like, oh, you can sense that by two women. Maybe even worse. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a perception, and it's always an opportunity. It's always an opportunity to see what is really going on here. What's being played out. And that's beautiful. He came and started yelling and getting it out and said thanks. So it sounds to me like there was a space for him to just have that. Yes, it feels like it's happening to you. That's how it is, because it's always a self-concept playing out. It's always a self-concept playing out. And, if he says, "Thanks, Mom," that tells me that probably you were holding some space there for him to yell and get it out. See? And, and addressing your own uncomfort. Addressing that feeling as your own uncomfort. Julie said thank you to Lori. Yay. You guys are both so sweet. I love you. I needed to get that out. Is that my projection? Okay, so look. It's all a projection. It's all a projection. It's not saying that projection is bad or it shouldn't be or anything like that. But it's all showing something. It's bringing something up. It's bringing an opportunity for a deeper connection as well. Okay? It's like medicine. Like good medicine. So the question is whether you are projecting onto the projection. That's a choice that you make. Whether to project onto it or not, as if that's really happening, as if bullying is really happening, and letting him get it all out and listening and letting him get it all out. It's like there will be an attempt to interfere, at least energetically, if you're holding on to a judgment, as if this is really happening. Just being with the perception of him screaming and yelling and getting it all out is enough. There's nothing to do. And I'm guessing that he felt the peace, he felt the calm, and said, "Hey, can we meditate?" Video games, anyone play video games? Video games can be a kind of meditation because it takes a certain amount of focus on the video games that you're not pursuing thought patterns. Especially if it's a hard video game. Is not pursuing them. So it's like, consciousness seems to use that as a form of meditation. It's relaxing. It's not a problem. It's not an addiction. It's not an escape. The only escape that it could be is the escape from innocence, the escape in the mind, away from innocence. And that would occur as a thought pattern. It's a choice from which way you go, which direction you're going in thought. It doesn't matter how old these kids are. It doesn't matter how old they are. Everyone's your child, even if they didn't pop out of your body. Everyone is coming with an energy offering. Will you agree with me on this? Will you agree with me on this, that I'm wrong for this? In fact, if you have an idea that your kid playing the video game means anything, they can feel it. They can sense that. It builds a wall. It prevents that connection that you and they are really looking for. It's saying innocence isn't possible here because that's wrong. Now we have to try to do something to get it back to innocence. when it was never missing in the first place. So, everything they do, everything anyone does is innocence playing out. You'd say it's a consciousness playing. Don't make it wrong or bad. Now the ego will take it to, these guys are just going to be out of control. They're just going to be murderers and stuff. Just have nothing. No one to tell them right from wrong. They don't need to know that, though. Innocence doesn't need to know right from wrong. It's at play. It's a joyful play. What makes manifestations of violence, disrespect, all that kind of stuff. Don't disrespect me. All of that kind of stuff, what makes perceptions of that is guilty consciousness. You can't even have that perception without guilty consciousness. Can't even have the perception of someone being disrespectful, disloyal. What is it? What's the other one? Irresponsible. That's a good one. Total self-projection. Can't even have that perception without the guilty concept. The guilty concept that it's possible to fuck up, basically. Even if something occurs, like, okay, maybe, I don't know, they made a big mess in the kitchen and didn't clean it, for instance. Made a big, huge mess in the kitchen and didn't clean it. That occurs to you. It arises in your perception. That's not really what happens. Now, the ego comes in right away and makes a problem out of this. Makes a problem out of it. And then there's no communication. There's no even chance of communication where there's a problem in your mind. You think there's a problem, there's no chance of communication. Can't even communicate about it. They don't clean their room, for instance. They keep their room a mess. That's not a problem. That's actually not a problem. And it won't be a problem. It won't be any problem unless you make it into one. I'm not kidding. Whether it gets cleaned or not isn't even the issue. It's not even important. There's nothing even important about that. It's like so irrelevant. When the purpose is for seeing through the illusion of separation, the purpose of every perception is for seeing through the illusion of separation, then who gives a shit if the room's clean? Who cares? And if it needs to get cleaned, it'll get cleaned. If you find your body cleaning it, then who cares? You use it all for the same thing. Everything is so beautiful. It does not matter what it is. It does not matter what you seem to find yourself doing. It's this future looking as if something bad's going to happen because of this. Or something bad is happening. Shit, it stinks in there. Thing stinks. It's not bad, though. There's nothing wrong. You'll do whatever you're led to do if you're open to it. Or you'll find yourself doing what you're in resistance to. Communicating, trying to communicate, not really communicating, but maybe trying to communicate out of resistance. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just one of the ways, one of the two ways. Communicating or projecting. Communicating or projecting. That's all. When communicating isn't occurring and projecting is occurring instead, that's okay. Look, Someone's watching. That's you. You see it occurring. As you see it occurring to you, as you see it from an impartial place, it's working itself out. It's automatically working itself out. There's nothing to even do about it. It'll reveal itself. So thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. If there's anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand now. Otherwise, I'm signing out. Hooray! And I get to come back and be with you again next week. I'm so stoked about that. Okay? By the way, sponsored by Miracle Botanicals. This is a big bottle of frankincense Sakura. Also known as sacred frankincense. As you can see, it's from Oman. See that? It's down there. That's the country. We always put the country on the bottom of our bottles so you guys know where it came from. And, you know, that's for fun. That's for fun. And it's also, Phoebe, thank you. It's also so you know where the botanical is from, because a lot of these botanicals, well, most of them have a specific place where they grow, and if they grow in that particular place, they smell better, they have the more desirable chemical composition, stuff like that. So, and I don't even think sakura grows outside of Oman. I mean, that's a maybe it does, but a boswellia tree, that's a frankincense tree, that's a genus botanical name, okay? Boswellia. And then the second name of the species is sakura. I like that. I like the way that sounds. And it smells really good. It's one of the most expensive frankincense. I think it's because there's not that much of it. Usually that's the reason. Either that or it's in high demand. One of those is the reason that drives the price up. And it's really, you can tell why it's sought after. It's very the aroma is subtle, but it's like a deep, and it's a real deep yet subtle, and most people like it. There's not very many people don't like frankincense. So like with this one, this is one of those ones, this is straight frankincense, no carrier, nothing. This is one of those ones you can just pour on. It's totally like nice for skin, and it smells really good and fresh. It's not too much, you know. It's one of those ones you can pour on. If you want to learn about essential oils and how to use them and stuff like that, you can go to our website, and on the main banner, you can just scroll on the main banner, and you can get a free ebook download that's all about how to use essential oils and stuff like that. Also, if you go on the product descriptions, they're very detailed. In fact, recently what we started to do was take pictures of all of our essential oils while they're in clear bottles and put the clear photos of the clear bottles into the listing, and it's amazing. It's so fun. And my newsletter that's coming out this week, Wednesday, I'm actually showing some of the colors, and they're so pretty. It's so fun to see all the colors of the essential oils. Frankincense is completely clear, by the way, clear and thin and astringent, and you could smell it for days. We have 8 or 9 different frankincense, and we also sell them in a set. That's really fun. Yeah. Oh, our website is called miraclebotanicals.com, in case you wanted to go over there. You could also email me. You could send me an email to hope@miraclebotanicals.com about anything you want. Essential oil, wisdom dialogue, stuff, doesn't matter. And Wisdom Dialogue. You can go to wisdomdialogues.org and you can see all the videos. Yay. I was doing a SoundCloud and iTunes. There's some old ones on there, but somehow it's not able to transfer over the videos anymore, so then that stopped. Like there's nothing past February on those things. But at least that's something, you know, if you wanted to download that. Yay. Good night. I love you. Thank you so much. So Facebook /groups/Wisdom Dialogues. And that's where you get invited to these. But if you're on this webinar right now, if you're actually on it with me and not just watching it later, then you're on my list and you're going to keep on getting the emails whether you're a member of that group or not. Unless you unsubscribe, which you can. Yay. All right. Thank you so much. And until next week, next Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and most Tuesdays, aloha and a hui ho. Yay.